What's up, everybody? We back with another message, another video. Thank you to all my new subscribers and future new subscribers. You know we do nothing here without God because everything is spiritually led by God over here. We cover the world from a spiritual and physical aspect to get the raw, real, and uncut answers. So anything you hear, anything you see in these end times, may you test the spirits, aka take the words and visuals back to prayer with God, as there are many Decepticons running around in these end times sent from the enemy. Had that strong, close, and personal relationship with God. Good, great, and awesome. All right, everybody. So real quick background here. April 22nd, 2023. God gave me a dream of the Pope and people being brainwashed. So in this dream, there was a man that saw the truth in something, and he was being like taken by force into courts by these men wearing, the attire. And he was just like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm telling the truth. Like, how can y'all not see the truth? It was crazy. But I'll play the prior word after the background so y'all can see in full detail. Now, we find out that Pope Francis authorizes blessings for same-sex couples. So clearly that goes against the word of God, and we see the motives there, the agenda of the enemy. Now, here is the part that the dream really ties into. Pope Francis removes Tyler, Texas Bishop Joseph Strickland. Now, here's the thing with that. Apparently, this bishop had been critical of Francis' recent meeting on the future of the Catholic Church, during which hot button issues were discussed, including ways to better welcome LGBT community with the Catholics, So not like, welcoming people in a church. Anybody's welcome to come to church and seek the truth or have the truth be given to them. But this isn't the truth. This was more of, how do we tickle ears and feed the enemy's agenda? So that is what the brainwashing was. So the man being removed by Pope Francis for being critical of that clearly showed the dream in itself of brainwashing, because then it makes an example out of him and makes people not want to speak up, or makes people think, oh, this is right. Okay, good, right? No, it's not. It goes against the word of God. Vatican court convicts former Pope advisor of financial crimes. So clearly, when I read this, I got, he knew something was going on. Because y'all, if y'all don't know, the Lord has been really speaking on children. Well, at least not on this particular YouTube channel per se. He's been talking to me about it, but children in the Vatican, somewhere, hidden, and whatever's going on within there. So for a man to be caught up for financial crimes, I'm like, that's what's really going on here, So more of somebody being put up and judged kind of fits the dream as well too. But yeah, that is the background. We'll get into the prior word now and the event itself. So let's jump into it. So I had this dream about, it was this woman and her husband, and they were in this really weird situation. And it seemed like the husband did something wrong, apparently. And I seen him being taken into this church by men, like, they was wearing all white. It kind of reminded me of the Pope. Kind of dragged him into this church. Two people on both sides of him. And it kind of reminded me of like he was being put in this court type situation, like he was going to be judged for what he did. But it wasn't like the feeling of God doing it. It was the feeling of man doing it, if that made sense. And again, it reminded me of the Pope. They were all wearing this clothing. And so after it seemed like nothing really happened to him. He came back out, and then it was a lot of different people in this place, and the man and his wife, and then this woman walked up that might have seemed like she was the friend of the wife, and she said things trying to convince the wife to kind of break away from the husband, because she was telling the woman that, oh, you might get a demon for being around him. You need to go to this class or come with me to this session, this class, because you might have a demon because you've been around him. And the man was looking like, what? No, what are y'all doing? Like, what are y'all talking about? And in my spirit, I felt very unsettled. Like the man didn't really do anything wrong, and they was just looking at him a certain way because he stood against what they believed and what they were doing. And so they were taking his wife from him and trying to make her, it was like brainwashed. And then taking the wife away from him, and her going with these people felt very unsettling. Like, no, don't do that because that's not true. Like, you're not going to get a demon from being with your husband. He ain't did nothing. Like, this is what I'm thinking in my head as I'm watching this, or in the spirit. So this is what the Lord said. These people are driving crazy, y'all. What you doing? Oh, all right. Many are convinced on anything in many of these churches. The pastors/leaders treat people that go against their ways like criminals/tax collectors. They are leading people right into hell. The husband knew the truth and acted out, but everyone else was brainwashed. And then the Lord, and then in my mind popped up was Pope.
Pope Francis ordering the removal of the bishop in Tyler, Texas, who has been very critical of the Pope.
Bishop Joseph Strickland has been accusing the pontiff of, quote, undermining the deposit of faith and criticizing him over LGBT issues. Earlier this year, the Vatican investigated Strickland's governance of the diocese due to reports of him making unorthodox claims. The Vatican says the Bishop of Austin will stand in as a temporary administrator.
14 past the hour, breaking news from the Vatican. Pope Francis has approved a landmark ruling that will allow Catholic priests to administer blessings to same-sex couples as long as they are not part of regular church rituals or liturgies. NBC's Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome. Claudio, what more can you tell us about this decision?
Hi, Jose. Well, this was officialized in a document that was sent out about a couple of hours ago from the Vatican's very powerful doctrine office. Essentially, in there, it says that from now on, Catholic priests around the world are allowed to bless same-sex couples, provided, as you mentioned in your intro, that they are not mistaken or confused with an actual marriage, which, in the eyes of the Catholic Church, can only happen between a man and a woman. Now, this comes with a couple of conditions. It is still related to this fact that it shouldn't be confused with a marriage. Well, first of all, it says that the blessing cannot happen at the same time as a civil union, and also that during this blessing, the blessing cannot be accompanied with some rituals like clothing or gestures or words that are more proper to an actual marriage. Still, despite these conditions, this comes as a major breakthrough for the LGBTQ plus community, especially Catholic LGBTQ plus around the world, even though this is not entirely surprising, because this is exactly what Pope Francis said at the beginning of October this year when he responded to a letter written to him by 5 conservative cardinals who challenged him to be open to describe what the actual Catholic Church teaching on homosexuality is right now. That came before a major meeting with the cardinals, and back then he responded in a letter saying exactly that he believes that same-sex couples should receive a blessing, provided that this is not confused or mistaken with an actual marriage. Well, this, of course, will come as it will be welcome, this officialization of what he said by LGBTQ plus Catholics around the world, but not probably welcomed by these conservative cardinals who clearly were against
Rome. In the scandal that shocked the Vatican, a cardinal is sentenced to more than 5 years in prison for embezzlement. The verdict handed down earlier today. ABC has the latest.
In what is called the Vatican's trial of the century, Cardinal Godlovesyou, who formerly acted as Pope Francis's chief of staff, found guilty of embezzlement and fraud. The court sentencing him to 5.5 years in prison and fined some $8,700. He is now barred from holding any public office in the Vatican. Once seen as a possible contender for the papacy, the 75-year-old now becoming the most senior Vatican official ever to be tried for financial crimes. The trial, lasting 2.5 years, included 86 6 hearings. Bachu, along with 9 other defendants, were accused of financial crimes, focusing on a property deal in London that cost more than $380 million, which ended in a huge loss for the Holy See. 8 defendants were convicted to prison sentences ranging from 3 years and 9 months to 7 years and 6 months. They deny any wrongdoing. Only one defendant, the Cardinal's former personal secretary, was acquitted. The sprawling case also included investigations into Vatican funds donated to a charity run by Bachu's brother and the payout of almost $600,000 allegedly given to free a missionary nun kidnapped in Mali by Islamic militants. The Cardinal strongly denies any wrongdoing, his lawyer saying they will appeal the sentence. Lama Hassan, ABC News.